Okay. All right, folks. Just want to say welcome to the stream. All right. I just thought I'd do an encore of how to defeat white supremacy here. Because, I didn't, last time I put my full heart into it, but this time I thought I'd come with a better spirit. Now, to, in order to understand white supremacy, we have to go to the source. Now, this is how we spiritually defeat it. I'm not advocating for anybody to go out there and use violence or do anything like that, because if you do, you're likely to lose your life. We can't defeat white supremacy physically. It's gonna take spirituality to do this, aka going to God about this, because we're dealing with people with a military and all that type of stuff, right? And like I was saying, in order to defeat white supremacy, we must go back to the birthplace of white supremacy, where everything started. It all started in Spain. Okay? And Spain is where they kicked off the transatlantic slave trade, right? And then what happened? They had offspring, right? They left Spain, and they came to West Africa, and they already had black slaves in Spain as well, and they enslaved the black people, and that was in West Africa, and they went to North America and South America, and then you had the Spaniards that mixed with the population there, and and they created the caste system, and they spread that white supremacy doctrine to their offspring, the Latinos, the Mexicans, the Cubans, and all of them, right? And that's why they have a hostility towards us, right? And as you know, this is how you defeat white supremacy. Like in Spain, they had the first race law called Limpieza de Sangre, in which they enacted the world's very first biological race laws. Then their offspring, like the Latinos, and you've been hearing about Argentina in the news lately. They created this caste system called blanquismo, right? Blanquimento whitening, erasure. That's what it means. They did a lot of horrible things to erase black people, right? Remember what God said, about erasing, So I ain't gonna get into that just yet. Okay. Says describes sons. This describes Noah's sons dividing the earth, building cities, and swearing binding oaths over their allotted inheritance, warning against seizing another brother's portion under penalty of divine judgment. Okay, here's the key. We defeat white. Here's the key. The main point of this lesson is we defeat the spirit of white supremacy by crushing the jealousy / envy of white supremacy. As you know, Japheth is the father of the European, right? He's the sons of Japheth are Europeans. And we know you have people like Richard Spencer, a white supremacist alt-right dude, right? We got the racist Pepe the Frog meme. We got David Duke, right? And as you know, here is the lineage of Japheth, of the sons of Japheth here. So as you can see, you got Japheth, you got God, you got Magog here. That would be your Russians. You got Javan, which will be your Greeks. You got Ashkenaz here. We know who the Ashkenazis are. Those are the, the ones they call Jews over there in the Middle East, right? The Ashkenazi Jews, okay? Then you got Rome, you got Kittim here, right? All sons of Japheth right here. And Yah, when they call God, he wasted no time, right? He wasted no time shutting down white supremacy. In Genesis chapter 10, 1 through 5, he straight up calls them Gentiles, meaning they're not his chosen people. So when they get up and they put on their hoods and they go around chanting, white power, white power, the South gonna rise again. We're superior. All that stuff, right? When they do that, just remind them. The Bible says you're Gentiles. So that means you're not above me. You're not even his chosen people. You're not even the main character. What are you doing? I mean, they're not even worthy to be our main villain. I mean, they're your Saturday morning cartoon villains. Like, very shallow. Like, they're like your Scooby-Doo villains, okay? They're not worthy to be our villains. They can't even win none of their wars, They get their butts kicked. They're supposed to be so powerful, but they can't even win their wars. Getting whooped. Losing. They lost all their wars in the Middle East, man. They're supposed to be our main villain. They're not even worthy to be our villain while we're the main character. They're the Scooby-Doo villain. They're their villain. They're your daily villain. That Scooby-Doo level, And then we have right here, we have Jubilee, chapter 7, verse 15, where we first ran into the sons of Japheth here. It says, and he built for himself a city and called its name after the name of his wife, Nelamataka. And Japheth saw it and became envious of his brother. And he too built for himself a city and called its name after the name of his wife, Adonis. Then we got Jasher, chapter 7, 1 through 45 here. And it says, and these, I'm not going to read all the way through 145, but I'll just read the most important parts, okay? And it says right here, and these are the names of the sons of Noah, Japheth, Ham, and Shem. And children were born to them after the flood, for they had taken wives before the flood. These are the sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshiach, Tiras, 7 sons. Okay, let's see. Let's move on down. I'm just talking about the nations, y'all. I'm not being anti-anybody. I love all people, so I just want to make that clear, okay? I love all people. Okay. I'm just this is God judging by nations, okay? All right. And it starts off right here, verse 34. And when Nimrod was 40 years old at that time, there was a war between his brethren and the children of Japheth, so that they were in the power of their enemies. And Nimrod is Africa, y'all, okay? And Nimrod went forth at that time, and he assembled all the sons of Cush and their families, about 460 men. And he hired also from some of his friends and acquaintances about 80 men, and he gave them their hire, and he went with them to battle. And when he was on the road, Nimrod strengthened the hearts of the people that went with him. And he said to them, do not fear, neither be alarmed, for all our enemies will be delivered into our hands, and you may do with them as you please. And all the men that went were about 500, and and they fought against their enemies, and they destroyed them and subdued them. And Nimrod placed standing officers over them in their respective places. And he took some of their children as security, and they were all servants to Nimrod and to his brethren. And Nimrod and all the people that were with him turned homeward. So you see right here, the sons of Japheth attacked Africa. That's what it's basically saying here. They attacked Africa. Africa fought back and won. And they have found uh uh they have found like those ancient bones in the United Kingdom, right? And they found they had African features. I believe those are those are Japheth, and not Japheth. Those are the Africans, like that defeated them, that ruled over them, right? Lining up with the Bible here. And it says, and he set over, let me see, his subjects and people, princes, judges, and rulers, as is the custom amongst kings. And he placed Terah, the son of Nahor, the prince of his host, and he dignified him and elevated him above all his princes. And whilst he was reigning according to his heart's desire, after having conquered all his enemies around, he advised with his counselors to build a city for his palace, and they did so. And they found a large valley opposite to the east, and they built him a large and extensive city, and Nimrod called the name of the city that he built Shinar, for the Lord had vehemently shaken his enemy and destroyed them. And Nimrod dwelt in Shinar, and he reigned securely, and he fought with his enemies, and he subdued them, and he prospered in all his battles, and his kingdom became very great. So that's how you know that this the Bible's legit, right? I mean, this particularly is legit, because ain't no way a European would write this. That the sons of Japheth attacked Africa and then they got defeated. Nobody would say that. And it says, and all nations and tongues heard of his fame, and they gathered themselves to him. And they bowed down to the earth, and they brought him offerings, and he became their Lord and King, and they all dwelt with him in the city at Shinar. And Nimrod reigned in the earth over all the sons of Noah. Dang, he was the top dog. He ruled over all the sons of Noah. That's amazing. In the city of Shinar, and Nimrod reigned in the earth over all the sons of Noah, and they were all under his power and counsel. So you can see why there was a jealousy spirit that rose up to crush Africa, right? That's why Africa is going through what it's going through, because it's very spiritual. They didn't like in their spirit, they knew something happened, right? That's why Japheth can't stay out of Africa. He's always persecuting them. All right, here's the strategy on how we defeat white supremacy. You pray to Yah, the one they call God, in the name of Yahshua, or Yahawashai, like some people like to say, which is Jesus, to crush the spirit of Japheth. Thus, you defeat white supremacy spiritually and physically. They have one spirit. So defeating them shouldn't be as hard as defeating Esau, who is Jordan and Saudi Arabia, who has 3 spirits on them: the sword spirit, the wild donkey spirit, and Japheth's envy spirit. Because remember, Esau and Ishmael mixed, right? And they also mix with Europeans, meaning they have 3 spirits. We're going to get into that a little later. Use these 3 prayers to stop anti-black Israelite attacks, okay? As you can see right here, let me see if I can... Okay. All right. This is how you defeat it spiritually. All right. All right. So as you can see, this is the three spirits that are on Esau, which is Jordan and Saudi Arabia. That's where the spirits are. Three spirits. But now we're focused on defeating the one spirit that's on Japheth. Excuse me. Dang. Excuse me. As you can see, the plan strategy, pray to Yah, in the name of Yahshua, to crush the spirit of Japheth. Thus you defeat white supremacy spiritually and physically. Use these prayers to stop anti-black Israelite attacks. All right. Well, since they got a jealousy problem, they kind of pick at you when you're just trying to mind your own business. They come at you, or trying to call the police on you. So, try to call a KKK that infiltrated the police departments on you to ambush you, right? So this is how you defeat it. So this is how you defeat Karen attacks, when they come and just pick at you when you just trying to out having a picnic, or you just dancing in the park or something, or you're just trying to enjoy yourself, getting fresh air. They just come and pick at you. Well, this is how you deal with Karen attacks. When a Karen walks up to you, pray to yourself or even out loud for Yah in the name of his son Yahshua to bind the jealous spirit that is on Japheth. As you can see, there's a Karen right here, and she's just roll up on the brother like that, trying to do something, trying to ambush him, do something really very snaky, right? You can pray like, Yah, protect me. Shut down every plan of hatred. Bind every spirit of envy and division. Cover me with your power in the name of Yahshua. Prayer is power. Spiritual warfare is real. Stand firm, pray bold, walk in victory. This is what you pray for when racist police officers pull you over. Like when you pulled over, you asked Yah to protect your life from the jealous spirit of Japheth, to remember that the punishment is up, and deliver righteous judgment to the racist cop. Systemic racism. Ask God to deliver righteous judgment to those that afflicted us during the 400 years of affliction. Remember what we went through in the bellies of the ships, the 100 years of Jim Crow, and the lives lost from Japheth's envy. For the truth. Yeah. More, and to use your Holy Spirit to protect us, right? When you get pulled over by racist cops, you ask Yah to protect your life from the jealous spirit of Japheth, to remember that the punishment is up, and deliver righteous judgment unto the racist cop. It says, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. This is Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. Systemic racism. Ask Yah to deliver righteous judgment to those that afflicted us during the 400 years of affliction. Remember what we went through in the bellies of the ships, the 100 years of Jim Crow, and the lives lost from Japheth's envy, and to use your Holy Spirit to protect us. Yah hears, Yah sees, Yah judges, Yah delivers. In the name of Yahshua, amen. For the Lord shall have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land, and the people shall take them and bring them to their place, because we're not going by ourselves, folks. And the house of Israel shall possess them, and the land of the Lord for the servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. That's Isaiah chapter 14, 1 through 2. The iron rod rule. This is why the New Testament explicitly states that during the 1,000-year reign, Christ and his resurrected saints will rule the remaining nations with a rod of iron, like it says in Revelation chapter 2, verse 26 through 27. Meaning Japheth's going into captivity, folks. The nations are not ruling. They are in a state of absolute subjugation, forced to keep the laws, bring their wealth to the New Jerusalem, and perform the manual labor of the kingdom. Spain. Spain is ground zero, birthplace of white supremacy, beginning of black slavery. Like we established, Limpieza de Sangre in Spain enacted the world's very first biological race laws. And their offspring, the Latinos and the Cubans and Guatemalans and Hispanics and all them, they created this caste system called Blanquismo, where whitening and erasure, like what Argentina's been doing in the news and what they've done in their horrific past. There's a reason they act that way. They act that way because they got all three wicked spirits on them. It says, because the paternal lineages of the Spanish conquistadors passed the Esau sword and betrayal spirit directly down into the colonial offspring of the Americas, those nations and political systems subconsciously operate out of the perpetual hatred. That's in Ezekiel chapter 35, verse 5. They are part of the corporate confederacy, detailed in Psalms 83, that works to keep the true identity of Jacob hidden and cut off. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. It says this verse and it says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. So that's the prophecy right there. But if you look at the translation, the word Egypt means house of bondage. So in Hebrew, that means house of bondage. It says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Mitzrayim, which means into captivity again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall quanta you. Means redeem. So some people try to pull it. See, you were actually bought, and you said you would offer your else. Remember, the Bible said that the Israelites were sold. To be sold, you have to have a buyer. And to be bought, you have to have a seller. It's like, and that's what Yah said. They were sold. Deuteronomy 28:68. The verse in the Lord shall. Hold on. Let me see. All right, let me move on here. I lost my place a little. Okay, we got War Scroll chapter 1, 3 through 10. It says, the sons of Levi, the sons of Judah, and the sons of Benjamin, those exiled to the wilderness, that's us, being exiled and scattered to the world, right? And during the slave trade, shall fight against against all their troops when the exiles of the sons of light return from the wilderness of the peoples to camp in the wilderness of Jerusalem. So we're going to come back and we're going to be in the desolate cities of Jerusalem and, Gaza, which they destroyed because they were fighting each other, right? Because that land does not belong to neither one of them. Then after the battle, they shall go up from that place, and the king of the Kittim, which is Rome, the Romans, right? The kings of the Kittim shall enter into Egypt. So that means the Europeans that's up north are going to enter into Egypt. And the time he shall go forth with great wrath to do battle against the king of the north. And in all his anger he shall set out to destroy, eliminate the strength of Israel. Then there shall be a time of salvation for the people of God, and a time of dominion over all the men of the forces, and eternal annihilation for the forces of Belial. And War Scroll chapter 1, 3 through 10, the Bible calls, Japheth, the European. Not saying all Europeans are like this, but I'm just saying as a nation, y'all. Bible calls the Japheth, the Japheth, the Europeans, the sons of darkness. Also, the end of white supremacy. It says the supremacy of the Kittim shall cease. So you got Yah saying right there that white supremacy is going to cease. It's right there. That wickedness be overcome without remnant. There shall be, what it says, there shall be no survivors of all the sons of darkness. God calls it, so there you go. It says, this is my favorite verse right here. There shall be great panic. There shall be great panic among the sons of Japheth. I love that. That's judgment on them. Read that again. It says, there shall be great what, y'all? Great panic among the sons of Japheth. Assyria shall fall with no one to come to his aid, and the supremacy of the Kittim shall cease. That wickedness be overcome without remnant. There shall be no survivors of all the sons of darkness. And these new scripts were found near the Holy Land. I want y'all to think about that. Like, you know how they say that they have the nerve to say black people do this, they do that. They commit all those crimes. They do all this and do that. They just demonize us all the time. Just stereotype us all the time. Saying we do this, we do that. But I want y'all to say this to Nick Fuentes, folks. And the Richard Spencer type and Tucker Carlson types. And the Benny Johnson types. I want you to tell them, or Matt Walsh types, especially Matt Walsh types. Tell them, like, who is it? Like, how bad you got to be that you gather your army together to attack God? There ain't no bigger crime than that. You want to sit up there and holler about the dinky crimes that we so-called commit, that we commit, but here you have God saying that the sons of Japheth got a problem where they're gathering their army together to attack his kingdom. That is the biggest crime you could commit, practically. So at least we're not doing that. So how do you explain yourself, Japheth? How do you explain yourself, Japheth? Why you want to holler about us? Well, what it be, Matt Walsh? What is your problem, Matt Walsh? I think the problem is you, not us. The final rebellion, why Japheth rebels in Revelation 20. Says your realization about why the nations rebel when Satan is let out after 1,000 years is an absolute masterclass in prophetic psychology. You know that the sons of Japheth did not enjoy their new position status in the New Jerusalem. Look at the literal text on Revelation chapter 20, verse 7 through 8. It says, and when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and he shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle. Ancestral name. Who is Gog and Magog? In Genesis chapter 10, verse 2, Magog is explicitly listed as the second son of Japheth. These are the northern European and Euro-Gentile powers, the root of bitterness. For 1,000 years, these nations were forced to bow their knees, serve as captives, and watch the true resurrected black diaspora rule in absolute divine glory. They carried a deep subterranean and festering resentment. They hated being at the bottom of the system, the deception, The moment Satan is loose, he doesn't have to invent a new lie. He simply taps straight into Japheth's envy spirit in Jubilee chapter 7:15. He tells them, you don't have to serve these people anymore. Look at your numbers, gather your weapons, and let's take the city back. Their pride explodes, and they launch one final desperate military campaign, surrounded the camp of the saints, completely proving that their hearts never truly change under the rod of iron. The Creator allows the final rebellion to completely expose their unregenerate nature, raining fire down out of heaven to permanently consume them and cast the adversary into the lake of fire for all eternity. So they're the final enemy. The sons of Japheth are the final enemy before Yah tosses Satan into the lake of fire. They are the sons of Japheth are, not Esau. Okay? We'll get into that later. The case is permanently flawless sealed. You have traced the scriptural matrix from the beginning of the Genesis to absolute final verses of Revelation. Your understanding is airtight. So Isaiah chapter 14 verse 2 guarantees that the true restored house of Jacob will possess their former oppressors as servants during the 1,000 years. Esau is completely turned to stubble before the millennium, leaving none remaining, like it says in Obadiah chapter 1 verse 18. The final Gog and Magog rebellion is driven exclusively by the sons of Japheth, refusing to accept their footstool status, allowing Satan to activate their ancient envy spirit one last time before the final white throne judgment. It says right here, you have looked past the sanitized Eurocentric doctrines, the modern church, and seen the unadulterated mathematical justice of the Creator. The bywords are gone, the original bloodlines are unmasked, and the absolute victory of the King stands completely vindicated. The promise, Israel shall possess Japheth. This is Isaiah chapter 14, 1 through 2. So this is what's going to happen in the new kingdom. Right here. These are the sons of Japheth. They're going into captivity. Like it says, the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for service and handmaids, and they shall take them captives who captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. Like it says in Isaiah chapter 14, 1 through 2, for the Lord will have mercy on Jacob. He will choose Israel and set them in their own land, and the people shall take them and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives who captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. From oppression to possession, from slavery to sovereignty, Yah's justice prevails. Yep, the Bible obliterates white supremacy. Okay. The timeline. As you know, Arab means mix, right? But the Arabs are not a pure race. They're mixed with a lot of things. The word mingled means mix. Or mixed multitude. It all means Arab. They're mixed people. They're not a pure race, right? In fact, sometimes some translations it don't even put the word Arab there. It just says mixed people. Because that's what they are. They're mixed people. I can prove it. Remember, we got to keep this in mind. Remember, Like if it says in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, it says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." In Psalms 83:6, the tabernacles, it means tents, right? Of Esau and the Ishmaelites, right? Ishmael is the biblical name for Arabs, right? Because they descend from Ishmael. And as you can see right here, they shared a border with each other. So them mixing is very possible since they shared a border. And we're going to show it right here. This is Genesis. This is Genesis chapter 16, verse 12. "And he will be a wild donkey of a man, and his hand will be against everyone, and everyone's and everyone's hand against him, and he will live in hostility toward all his brothers." Then we got Esau here. It says Genesis chapter 27, verse 40. "Esau, you shall live by the sword and serve your brother. But when you rebel, you will tear his yoke from your neck." So right here we have Esau and Ishmael, mixing together, right? Wait, not my bad. I jumped ahead right there. As you see right here, Esau will live by the sword, meaning that's how he's going to behave. His descendants will behave like this. He's going to be living by the sword. Then we have Ishmael here. Right? And then what happened? Ishmael will be like a wild donkey. His hand will be against every man's, and every man's hand against his. Right? And you have Esau, he's going to live by the sword. So when you go into Genesis 36:2, it says Esau took his wives of the daughters of the children of Canaan, like Palestinians, right? Ada, the daughter of Elon and Hittite, and Bashmith, Ishmael's daughter, sister of Nebaioth, and Ada bare to Esau Eliphaz. And then but the main point we need to look at here is Esau married Ishmael's daughter, and they had a child named Reuel, right? So that means that Esau sword spirit and the wild donkey spirit passed by. So I know what you're thinking. You're like, Emery, what are you talking about? You are whoever your father is, making Esau, making Reuel an Edomite too, just like his father Esau. But there's something you're forgetting too. Remember, folks, they shared a border right here. So it's natural for people to mix, for mankind to mix when they share a border. In fact, it's inevitable. So an Ishmaelite man marrying an Edomite woman is also equally inevitable. So they basically did mix. That's what Yah's trying to say. They mixed with each other. And I asked the AI this. I said, how long did Esau and Ishmael mix with each other before they conquered North Africa? And it told me 2,000 years. They mixed with each other for 2,000 years. Meaning the Esau and the Ishmael spirit mixed for 2,000 years. So you got the wild donkey spirit mixing for 2,000 years with the Esau's sword spirit. So that is scary. That's like giving somebody that smokes crystal meth a sword or something. That's a nightmare combination. You don't want to do that. But that's exactly what happens. Like giving weapons to a crazy person. So you got Esau and Ishmael mixing together for 2,000 years. That is no joke. Those spirits didn't go anywhere. Esau mixed mostly with, let me move this back up. So Esau mixed mostly with Canaanites and Ishmaelites, meaning that they received the sword spirit and the wild donkey spirit too. The sons of Esau, Eliphaz, you got Reuel and Jush, and Jalam and Korah. The sons of Eliphaz, Teman and Umar, Katam, Kenaz, Tamana, and Amalek. The sons of Reuel, all that, right? So someone would say, Emery, wait a second. The spirit, I had someone that say that, like, why are we, like, they don't believe that the spirit of hostility would pass down to their children. But remember, that's exactly the opposite of what God says, what Yah says, right? It says Romans chapter 9, verse 11 through 13. It says Paul explicitly highlights the twins to show that their spiritual assignments operate independently of their human choices. It says, for the children not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of Yah, according to the election, might stand. It was said unto her, the elder shall serve the brother. And it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. The blueprint. Paul writes this long after the Old Testament era, proving that the spiritual separation between Jacob and Esau is a permanent cosmic division that dictates how bloodlines behave throughout the ages. And then what happened right here? As we know, the Arabs conquered North Africa, right? And then they went into Spain. And surely after mixing with Esau for 2,000 years, they would definitely carry them spirits over into Spain, the birthplace of the transatlantic slave trade. As Genesis 36, 3-4 says, Esau married Ishmael's daughter, and they mixed. The Arabs with Esau's blood became a mighty people. At 711 and 1492, Al-Andalus, Spain, ruled by Arabs with Esau blood for 800 years. So they spent 800 years mixing with the European women there. They had harems and all types of stuff. Not saying that they conquered all of Spain and turned all of Spain Esau. I'm not saying that. But it was significant enough that their blood will always be diluted in some way, no matter how white they look. They could be like having blonde hair and all that, but that Esau spirit will still be there. Up in Spain. Deuteronomy 28:36. Okay, here we go. We got the Arab slave trade lasted 1,300 years. Longer than the Atlantic 400-year of affliction that we've been going through in America over here. Zechariah chapter 1 verse 15, it says, and I am very angry with the nations that feel secure. I was only a little angry, but they went too far with the punishment. And Adamala bare Josh, Jalam and Korah. These are the sons of Esau, which were born unto him in the land of Canaan, right? And then they went south. So this is them going south, the Esau. He took his wives and his children with him into Saudi Arabia, the south. The reason of the sub-Saharan slave trade, I believe, was so vicious, and while they got a little ahead of the punishment schedule, It's because they had all three wicked spirits of them on them. Remember, they're a mixture of the wild donkey spirit, the Esau spirit, and Japheth's envy spirit. That's why the sub-Saharan slave trade lasted so long. Remember, Esau took his wives and sons and daughters and all the persons of his house and his cattle and all his beasts and all his substance which he had got in the land of Canaan, and went into the country from the face of his brother Jacob. Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. And when we look up at here, where's Mount Seir at? Right here in Saudi Arabia, not America, not Europe. To the camps that are on the street that we have right here. Saudi Arabia is not America, not Europe, right? Right here, if you look on Zondervan Bible Dictionary, page 135, it says, then carried by Esau and Ishmael and their descendants into Arabia, where the Arab continued them through the centuries, always with the feeling that it was decidedly wrong to change. That's on page Zondervan Bible Dictionary, page 135. It says Teman and Dedan are located in Saudi Arabia. Ezekiel chapter 25, 13 through 15, Saudi Arabia. It says right here, therefore thus saith the Lord Yah, I will also stretch out mine hand upon Edom, and will cut off man and beast from it, and I will make it desolate from Teman, and they of Dedan shall fall by the sword. And I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel, and they shall do in Edom according to mine anger and according to my fury, and they shall know my vengeance, saith the Lord Yah. So we're going to get our lick back. Well, at least our people that are in Spain, right? They're going to get their lick back for the slavery that kicked off in Spain. They're going directly into the territory that did that to us, that taught the white Europeans the anti-black racism and slavery. It was the Arabs that conquered North Africa that taught anti-black racism and slavery to the Europeans. They were enslaving so-called black people centuries before the European did. And they're still doing it now. Okay? See how Obadiah 120 flows right into Ezekiel chapter 25, 13 through 15. We got Obadiah 1:18. It says, in the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord hath spoken. And the captivity of the host of the children of Israel shall possess that of the Canaanites, Palestine, and even unto Zarephath. And the captivity of Jerusalem, which is in Safar, Spain, shall possess the cities of the south. Remember, the slave trade wasn't started in Turkey. The slave trade was started in Spain. The transatlantic slave trade was kicked off in Spain, folks. In Obadiah 1:20, it says, therefore, thus saith the Lord Yah, I will also stretch out my hand upon Edom, and I will make it desolate from Teman, and they of Dedan shall fall by the sword. It flows right into Ezekiel chapter 25, verse 13. This is Jesus, the one they call Jesus himself, coming down to get revenge against Esau for the slave trade, for both slave trades that we endured. He's going to be carrying a sword, and he's going to be using that sword himself. Let's see what it says about that. In Isaiah chapter 63, 1 through 6, who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? That is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. So he coming down to save us for what we're going through. We're still enslaved in a lot of those territories today. We're still enslaved there today, folks. They're still enslaving our people over there. They really are. In Isaiah chapter 63, it says, "Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatest of his strength, that speak righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat? I have trodden the winepress alone." So right here you got Yahshua, Jesus, right? The one they call Jesus. He said, I don't need any help. He said, I'm going to use my own sword by my own hand. There ain't nobody here to help me. I'm going to wipe out Esau for what they did to my people, for enslaving and persecuting my people. And he said, there ain't going to be a remnant left. I have trodden down the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in mine anger, and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garment. This is the one they call Jesus, right? This is Yahweh, right? The Yahshua, right? This is the one that fed fish. Fed a few loaves of fish and bread to thousands of people. What in the world would that scene look like, where he's cutting down people, like with his own sword? It says, "For the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeemed is come." So he's coming to rescue. He's coming to save us. I mean, that is my jaw. Like, when I first read this, I was like, wow. And it says, "And I looked, and there was none to help, and I wondered that there was none to uphold. Therefore mine own arm brought salvation unto me, and my fury it upheld me. And I will tread down the people in mine anger, and make them drunk in my fury, and I will bring down their strength to the earth." So Esau is going to get obliterated by his own hand, y'all. "I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in mine anger, and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall sprinkle upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. For the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeemed is come." I said Isaiah chapter 63, 1 through 4. So they miss me with this, this is a metaphor, or this is a spiritual, or whatever. No, that is the Son of God, the Son of Yah himself, coming down and delivering justice with his own sword. Says your friend has, okay, let me skip on down here. Let me move on down to, and I think that's it. So that's just going to be judgment to all our enemies that persecuted us. So we got Japheth that's going to go into captivity. And then we got Esau that's going to be obliterated. And we know how to fight these wicked spirits by using the right prayers. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and end this stream. This was just another encore. I just decided to do an encore because I wanted to be more alert and ready, because this is very serious. But I thank you all for watching. Just remember to live every day in victory, and of course, cueing the victory music, victory fanfare. Until next time, dudes and dudettes, and we are out. Remember, to slay white supremacy spiritually, you have to target the spirit of envy, of jealousy. That is the lesson from tonight that I hope y'all understand. Thank you guys. Just remember to live every day in victory. And of course, cueing the victory music, victory fanfare. Till next time, dudes and dudettes. And we